when you write a book, you're writing a book to help people. So don't see it as you forcing people to get something, to give you something. They're not the one giving you something. You're the one giving them knowledge. That standpoint, you're doing good. Every time you talk about your book, you're doing the world good. So if you're an author, you have to see from that standpoint, and don't be ashamed to talk about your book. People need to hear about that book, and don't be discouraged. Also, you might talk about it day 1, day 2, day 3, day 10, and no one buys it. That's fine. Keep talking about it, but do it creatively and don't spam people. And those people that might have seen it day 1, it'll probably be day 20. When they see it again, they're like, oh, I need to check this out. And that's when they check out the book and get it. This is, I think, the same.
Welcome back, listener, to another exciting episode. In this episode, we will talk about how you can publish your first book. So, to talk about this, we have invited Ebenezer. He is the author of 2 best-selling books. One of them is JavaScript for VIPs, and the other one is Git Prodigy. So, a warm welcome to Ebenezer, and tell us about yourself.
Hey everyone, it's good to be here. Hi, Huzaifa, thank you for having me. My name is Ebenezer. I'm a software engineer and the founder of New Dev, a learning platform and developer community.
And can you tell us more about yourself, your experience in the software industry? And then obviously you started book writing. So I just wanted to know about the experience that before the writing of the book.
Yeah, so I started writing code in 2013. That was 10 years ago. This is 2023. And then my first code writing was done on a phone, a mobile phone. That was a keypad phone then. So I didn't have a laptop or a computer. So I started with the keypad phone. I was learning website design with a content manager then, wapka.mobi. I don't know if any of you know wapka.mobi. That's what I started with. And then I started learning JavaScript to be able to write custom codes and add custom functionalities to my website. So that was how I started. And later on, I started learning Java with a PDF book. Did a lot of things with Java, learned Android development, then went back to web again, and then into the JavaScript universe. And I've worked with several languages, including Python, data science and machine learning. I worked at Data Science Nigeria. That's the data science and AI company in Nigeria, and so one of the biggest in Africa. I've also worked as a software engineer in Andela. That's a company here in Nigeria. And then I've worked as a developer advocate at JetBrains. Right now, I'm the founder of newdev.io, a learning platform which you can check out right now for everyone who wants to learn the code and connect with the best minds. And I also create developer content. So I have courses on LinkedIn Learning, on Udemy, and my YouTube channel also with a lot of really helpful tutorials. And I also have create courses, developer content, and courses on new dev to technical blogs. What else? And the author of these 2 programming books. So I write a lot. I write technical articles. I write for LogRocket. I also write for the New Dev blog. And, from all my writing, my years of writing and my writing experience, I put all that knowledge into writing these books about JavaScript and version control.
Yeah, that is some great experience, and you have worked with like great companies, and then obviously your community, newdev.io. I have checked it out. Like, yeah, it is like a great community, like great like-minded people are in that particular community. Then you have like, amazing courses there as well. So yeah, it's a good community. Like for any software engineer watching this video right now, I would recommend just go, to newdev.io and check this out. Like, if you like it, you can just join the community as well.
Yeah, it's a good way to learn how to code and connect with like minds at the same time.
Yeah. And with that, I would like to ask, what inspired you to create, your own book and then publish it, and then just not even one book, then writing 2 books. So yeah, and then you have also created like a lot of content as well, other than the books. So what was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, so this was something especially the book on JavaScript, something I've planned to write for a very long time. And that's because I get so many requests. I've been teaching for a long time physically, before even teaching online. I've been teaching physically. I started a boot camp once and taught people for free on web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and web technologies. And apart from that, I've taught in several other boot camps, including artificial intelligence boot camps where I taught Python. And I've taught in others. I taught JavaScript and some other programming languages. So I've been teaching physically, and then I took my knowledge online. So I've created a lot of courses and tutorials on building projects, applications. You can check out my YouTube channel or check out my LinkedIn Learning course or New Dev. So all of these tutorials will be there, project-based tutorials, sometimes on frameworks, on technologies like Fast API with Python or React.js, JavaScript, and all of that. And, I get a lot of requests. Ebenezer, Don, I love the way you break down complex topics. I love the way you just make it simple. I tried all these other tutorials, all this, but when I came to yours, it just clicked. Why don't you have a JavaScript from beginner tutorial or book or course? People needed that JavaScript from beginner course from me. And I learned a lot of JavaScript from a lot of really cool people. Brad Travis, for example, I learned JavaScript while I was learning. I used his YouTube channel a lot. And so many other books, I've learned JavaScript. I've read JavaScript for Dummies and some other fun JavaScript. But I even read JavaScript for Kids. There's a really cool book named JavaScript for Kids. So from all of this understanding, and I've read really simple JavaScript books. I've read really complex JavaScript books. Carly Simpson has a really good JavaScript series. So I respect all of these people, and I want to take all this knowledge I've gotten, all this experience I've gotten, and all this interaction, because I interact with a lot of new developers every day. So I know exactly what they're feeling. I know the exact pain points. I know the things that are causing them heartaches, because I get so many requests daily, so many messages daily. I interact physically and online with a lot of people. So I'm going to take all that experience, all that knowledge, all the practical experience conversations, and put that into a book that directly solves everyone's problem once and for all. So if you want to learn JavaScript and you take my book, Simplified JavaScript for Very Important Programmers, I'm 100% confident that that's going to be the ultimate solution for you. So this is something that have taken me a long time to do and to get to from I did not just wake up one morning and I started writing the book. So I decided to give that knowledge to people, and it's been a really, really, really interesting experience so far, because I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. People that were struggling with JavaScript and they got the book and they're like, why did you do this earlier? Why didn't you do this? And so I think that's the most fulfilling part for me. Even if no one buys this book again, even if this book just ceases to exist right now, just the people that it has helped already so far in their software engineering journey and in their career, that's enough fulfillment for me.
Yeah, you're right. And I've also seen that, you had some great reviews about your book. And I've seen that. And personally, I'm also very interested in, reading that book. And I have decided it, I have put it in my, things to do that, I will buy this book on Amazon, and I will read, because I have heard a lot of good reviews. And personally as well, I have learned JavaScript from a lot of different resources, and I have created my personal notes as well on JavaScript that I shared with a lot of my friends. So, but obviously they are notes, they're not that, in detail and covering every aspect. So having a book that is, that covers all the aspect from beginner to expert, that is good. It can also help you. For instance, you want to give an interview, and sometimes some concepts you don't remember, right? Because there are a lot of them. So you just go through it, you just do skimming, and then you're like, okay, that is good. So, and then
yeah, right.
And then for some people who are wondering, you can just go to Amazon, I would say, and then you can just I can paste the link of the book in the description of the video, so you can check this out. And with that, can you tell about the other book on Git version control and
version control,
the thought behind it?
Yeah, for version control, I don't know about you, but when I started learning Git, it was difficult. It felt like something mysterious. I hesitated even before learning Git. I hesitated a lot because, first of all, I was like, this thing is too complex. Why do I need to waste my time on it when I can just write my code on my computer and save it myself? I had so much confidence. in my in my abilities until I lost my project, and I knew that it was time to learn Git. Like so many other projects I started with, that it would be lovely to go and see. Like some projects I built when I started, I don't have access to them, and that's because I did not know version control then. I did not learn version control then. So now I decided to make learning version control with Git and simple for everyone. So, and I think one of the most challenging parts of writing the book on version control, the Git Prodigy, was making it accessible and easy to understand for even someone who has not heard of version control before. For someone who has not heard of what version control or Git before, it's simple and it's accessible. And then for people who already have experience with version control and Git, they're still going to get a lot of knowledge, a lot of practical knowledge from the being able to combine to cater to both the beginners and the experienced people was one of the most difficult parts of writing that book. But I'm glad I was able to write it, and it demystifies Git and GitHub for everyone.
Yeah. And one thing, about Git, it is very funny, but in the start, anybody, you start learning Git, it seems very confusing, right? Like in my experience as well, when I started learning Git back in 2014 or 2015, I was like, oh, this shit is like very crazy. It is very hard, So then like eventually when you get to know about it, and then you just sort of realize this is like very easy. You don't have to even like remember stuff, right? It just happened like, like it is same like, you're speaking a particular language, I'm speaking English, so I don't have to remember it. I will just say it, right? So with Git, it is like same, but having a good source from where you can learn, this is very important. For instance, you are just checking on YouTube, different small videos, that can confuse you. I can tell you,
And you can lose your project from that. Just there are people that just copy and paste commands, and paste commands, and you don't even know when you lose your project, so you delete an entire history.
And then like it gets more confused when you're working in a team. Then you have like a lot of developers say like they have like different branches. That guy wants to merge the code, you also want to merge the code. There's
merge
like
conflicts and all
merge
of that.
conflicts, and then how to resolve the merge conflicts, right? There are different strategies for that as well, creating a new branch, then resolving it or resolving it like that. So but again, like someone who does not know about it, don't get confused. I'm just telling you, if you learn from a good source, like my friend has written a good book on it, like then it is very easy. I can tell that within like I would say a month, you will be very good at Git, and you'll be like, oh, this was a challenging thing. You'll be like, okay, this is like very easy for me now. So yeah,
you can get, if you use the right resource, you can get really good at it in a short amount of time. Unlike a programming language with Git, you just need to practice. You need to read, learn from the right resources, and then practice a bit. It's something that you get to do every day after you learn it, so it's going to stick to your head.
That is great. So just coming back towards publishing your first book. So what is I would say how a person can determine the concept of their book and the title of their book? This is because this is like the starting point if you want to create your own book. So what is your take on that?
I'd say think of the topic first, the subject area you want to write on before the title. At least that's the way I approach these things. I don't think about the exact title of the book yet, but I know how to write the JavaScript book, or I know how to write the Git book, or maybe I want to write the book on React.js or Solid.js or Fast API or any tool, any technology, any concept, first of all. And then it should be something that you have real life experience with. It's going to be difficult if you want to write on a concept, a subject, or a technology you've not used before. So pick something that you have real life experience with. Or if you don't have real life experience with it, at least before writing, it's not difficult to get real life experience. So build a lot of projects with that particular tool or that technology that you want to write about. Assume you want to write about a language or a framework or a technology. Or if it's a concept in maybe JavaScript, there are people that write about object-oriented programming in JavaScript or object-oriented programming in Python or functional programming and all of that. This is something that you have to be experienced in. And if you feel like, oh, I just love the idea of this topic, this tool, this concept, get some experience in it. First of all, it's going to be really helpful. You need to show people, you need to teach from your perspective and from your experience so that others can relate with you and easily understand. So once you find something that's, and one way to, you can also look at what people are asking for. What do you think that was difficult for you to learn? Maybe try to learn something and it's really difficult and you're trying to find resources on it around the internet and you're not able to find good resources on it. You struggle a lot before you learn it. That's like an opportunity to make it easier for other people, educate others on that particular subject or concept or technology. So that's a really good opportunity. If you find something difficult to understand, you can take that knowledge, that experience, you understand the places that were difficult for you, and then you take that knowledge and give it back to people and make people understand it easier. So that's something, that's one thing. Another thing, maybe you want to write the book and you're focused on this, you're focused on maybe a trending technology, for example, you're focused on getting it out there, putting it out there in the midst of hype. Maybe there's hype around a certain technology or tool. You can also do that. You can go and spend some time learning that too. If it's something that's being talked about a lot, you can spend some time learning it and then start writing about it and share your experience and your journey with it too. That's also there. So three things that I mentioned: something you're interested in, a concept, a technology or a tool you're interested in. So a technology that was difficult for you to understand or to find resources on, and then something that a lot of people are interested in. Try to avoid writing things that something that you find out that you're the only one that's passionate about it, but then no one else cares about it. Maybe you want to write about a language that's, for example, that was used 20 years ago, but nobody uses it right now. And maybe if you're writing for the purpose of, you want to help those very few people that are going to use that particular language, even if no one uses it right now, that is fine. But if your goal is to take it out there and get it to as much people as possible, then try not to write about things that you're the only person who is passionate about it and there's no other person that cares about it right now. So write about things that people are asking for. People are seeking for knowledge on a particular thing and you're helping them, you're giving them that knowledge. So that's really important. And for me, the process of choosing titles was for the two books I wrote, it was after writing. Or I think for the JavaScript book was halfway while writing, I started thinking about the title. For the Git book was, I think, at the end. So usually halfway or at the end of writing the book that I start thinking about the exact titles to use. And I write down several lists of titles I can choose from and spend a lot of time thinking about it, thinking about the title that are going to resonate, is going to resonate with people. And when someone hears it, they're like, oh, wow, I want to check out that book.
So, yeah, you're right. Because, I have seen like a lot of people, like they get confused because this is like a good, advice. Start writing the book, then in the middle or in the end, decide the title. And I think because when you're writing the book, then okay, what you have written, then you have like done a lot of research, spend a lot of hours on that particular topic. Maybe you have read a lot of other books, that are in the market. Then like it is very easy to come up with a lot of ideas, different titles, and then you decide, rather than in the start you have not done anything and then you are like, okay, I will choose
the title.
It can get tricky and it can waste a lot
and
of
they
time.
never start. There are people that they get focused on, I need the perfect title before I can start writing it. They never start writing because they're just stuck at the stage of choosing the title for their book.
Absolutely. And with that, I would like to ask, okay, you have decided about, okay, this is my topic and this is, okay, you are halfway through it, will be my title. So how to like outline your book, like how many chapters I will have in my book, what are the topics that I will cover? For instance, in my case, I am writing a book now as well. It is like 80%,
Cool.
you can say it is written. So it is about designing scalable solutions and system architecture overall, right? So in the start, what I did, I had like a lot of things, right? So how you can summarize that and create an outline and stuff. So I wanted to know from an expert.
Yeah. How to create out, that's always the first thing I do with my books. Once I decide on the concept or the tool, once I decide on the topic I want to write on, the next thing I do is create outline for the book. And you need to create an outline that encompasses the subject area you want to talk about. So for example, if I want to write a JavaScript book, certainly I need to talk about functions. You cannot write a JavaScript book without talking about functions. Like it's a JavaScript book that's a programming book, for example. This JavaScript book, for example, is not just a JavaScript book for people who are already programmers. It's a JavaScript book and an introduction to programming at the same time. So I think one thing you have to do is also differentiate the particular audience you're writing to. So for me, anyone that has not written any programming language before can pick up my JavaScript book, and then they're going to learn programming along with JavaScript. But there are some books that are written for programmers. Like, you have to be a programmer. If you're not a programmer, if you're not an experienced programmer already, you're not going to understand this particular language. So what I did was, even experienced programmers and non-experienced programmers can pick up my book and understand it. So you have to be clear about that. So if I'm writing, for example, for people who have not had any experience with programming, then I certainly need to explain what programming is. I certainly need to explain the concept of variables, the concept of data structures, the concept of objects, of functions, and all the rest. I need to explain all of that stuff. So don't leave your readers or your learners confused when writing a book. So if you find yourself using any term that's they should understand, there are books you pick up and you're reading it and you need a separate dictionary to understand the book, or you need like 5 other resources to be able to understand the book. So what kind of book, who is your audience? First of all, you have to define your audience, and you have to let them know in the beginning, maybe I need you to be experienced with this particular language or this particular tool or this particular technology before you can understand this book. But if they're not experienced with any of those things, then don't mention it without explaining it in your book. So that's something that you have to think about from the beginning. For me, I had to write the outline and then find a way to structure it also, because even when you're covering those topics, they need to be properly structured so that you're not explaining one thing before the other. So maybe to understand functions, for example, you need to understand variables. But what if in the beginning of the first chapter, I'm already teaching functions without even covering what variables are? That becomes really confusing. So you have to structure it really well. You have to first of all, have an idea, define your audience, have an idea of the experience level of your readers, what you feel like they should have covered before learning or before picking up your book. And then the final goal also, you need to have a picture of the final goal for every reader that picks up your book. At the end of this book, after reading this book, what should you be able to do? That's going to give you an idea of what topics and what concepts and what areas to put in your book.
Yeah, that is some great advice. That to sum it up, like, you need a persona that, okay, my book readers are these people. So then you create your book in that manner, right? So for instance, in my case, when I was writing my book, I decided, okay, my book, like, everyone who is expert in back end, front end, full stack, maybe they have like 5-6 years of experience, then they can understand my book. So I will write it in that way, not in a way that I will cover basic stuff, right? So, but it is very important that you have that in your mind. And I realized that very after spending like 1 or 2 months, right? For someone who is listening to this podcast, they can get these key takeaways, because I was initially creating the book and explaining some basic stuff, and then I was explaining some very difficult stuff. Then I realized, for someone who's not like working in this, who's not a software programmer for like past 4 or 5 years, then that person cannot understand more than 50% of my book. Why I am catering that person in the book as well in the starting chapters? There's no point catering them. Or either I should change the later chapters in a way that it is still manageable, obviously, because in a book you sometimes talk about something and you haven't explained about that concept. So I was like, no, I then like restructured it in a way that, okay, and then in the marketing as well, I decided like it's not published yet, so I will say, okay, this is for someone who wants to be a solution architect, or who is a solution architect. So this is a very good point that you have mentioned, that you need to have
That's very important.
yeah, I learned it the hard way.
You have to clearly define your audience, know your writing to even like, and some books you're going to write might not be for beginners. They might be for intermediate developers or senior developers. And then you know that when writing those ones, you don't need to spend time explaining basic stuff, like spending time explaining what variables are, because you already assume while writing this book that you're talking to people or writing to people that already understand the basic stuff. So being sure of your audience when writing is really important.
Yeah, that is right. And then I think it also helps in creating your outline as well. Then you know, okay, you have this persona, and then you create the outline based on that. So next up, I want to ask you is like, for instance, if someone who is listening to us, and then they have started writing book, and then they feel like, okay, this is too much hassle, and they do not have that routine to write and work on their book every day or every week, whatever schedule they have, because sometimes it gets a bit tricky, because a book's writing a book take time. It is not like a 1 week or 2 week job, right? It takes time. So how you can have
Yeah.
that routine, so and how you can schedule things, and what is your take on that?
Okay. Yeah. So for me, the process for me was, because right now I define my work. I define what I have to focus on at a particular period of time. When I was writing my books, I woke up every day and I was writing every day. Like that was my work. That was why I was able to do it. I was able to focus on it, and I didn't stop halfway. I focused on writing this book every day. I would wake up, I'd write, research, write, build, and all of that. So, but for people that have other full-time jobs, you need to find a way to structure your time. Maybe you can set out 1 hour every day or 2 hours every day for this, and it's something you can actually do. If you structure your time, you can do it, because you work, let's say most people would work for 8 hours in a day. You're
Yeah.
going to have, you'll be able to set out an hour or two for this writing and stick to it. You know that once it gets to this particular time, you sit down and you start writing. So it's very important to structure your time. Maybe have a to-do list, a project manager rather. To-do list is a simple part of it, is a simple aspect of it, but a project management tool you can use to structure your time. And you know that, okay, or even you can use the Google Calendar. You know that at this particular time, from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, or from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., I'm going to be writing, or from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., I'm going to be writing. And then you might get tired too, and that's fine, because it's not easy to write. Sometimes you can get writer's block, and that's when you just sit down in front of your laptop and you don't know what to do anymore. You're just like, what do I even write? So you're just blocked. So you should recognize that those things will happen, and there's nothing wrong with that. So when those things happen, not if, they almost always happen when you get overwhelmed, tired, or discouraged, or blocked mentally. Just give it a break, take a step back, do other things, and then you can come back to it later. You can give yourself a break, depending on your schedule, depending on the structure of your work and your life. But it's important to be consistent. Don't write today, and the next time you're coming back to continue that writing is the next month. It's going to be difficult to get your ideas to flow. You have to have a consistent pattern to it, consistent timing, either daily or every 2 days. But find a way to be consistent. That's my advice.
Yeah, that is great advice, and even that, having a time set on your calendar, it's like a good advice. You get notifications, okay, in 50 minutes, 30 minutes, and then from there, subconsciously,
Right.
for that time actually comes, that you are getting notified, and in your
No.
mind started, preparing yourself, like same like the meeting, right? I have a podcast, and I am getting the notification 1 hour before, then 30 minutes. So subconsciously in my mind, I'm preparing, okay, I have a podcast with this person, and then I'm preparing in my mind. So yeah, that is a good approach. I haven't done that, to be honest, but like, yeah, I'm thinking of it. I will take this idea,
Yeah,
and I
you should.
will apply it myself as well.
You should, and it's easy to set up. You can easily set up recurring meetings for that.
Yeah, you're right. And how long does it take, in if we specifically talk about you, like, obviously you have tell that you spend, like, when you start writing a book, like, you spend, all your time writing the book, and you're very enthusiastic. So in your case, how much time it took you to write a book from, uh, start till the first draft, not publishing, the first draft?
Now, that also depends on how much time you're willing to put into this. Like I said before, when I was writing my books, when I decide to write anything or do any project, I go all in. I wake up in the morning, I sit down and I write and I write and I write. And then the next day, I wake up, I sit down. When I was writing my JavaScript book, for example, I hardly even went on social media. all I was doing was writing and researching, and writing and building projects and testing out what I was doing and writing and writing and writing. So I started my JavaScript book last year, and I was able to finish it this year. The Git book, I started writing it a long while ago, but I had not focused on it like I did this year. This year, I even hardly put out content on YouTube because I also create a lot of technical content on YouTube. I hardly did all of that stuff. This year I focused on writing and writing and writing. So I brought back my Git book to the table, and I decided to focus every day on writing and until I got into completion. So it depends on the number of hours you're willing to put to it in a day. I'm sure that most people cannot do what I did, because I was able to define my own time, my own work hours, but almost everyone does not have that leverage, because most people are working in the jobs. That's why I advise to set out a particular number of hours you can put daily. So that depends. If you're using 1 hour daily or 2 hours daily, it's probably going to take you much longer, but that is also fine. All these things take time. It depends on you, depends on how much time you're willing to put into the book. For me, I put a lot of time into it, so I was able to finish it in a shorter amount of time than so many other people would have if they were merging work with writing.
Yeah, you're right. I think it takes even if you write a book very fast, I think still it takes 5-6 months, if I'm not wrong, because
Yes, usually takes more than that.
yeah, because there are a lot of aspects. It's not like creating a blog post or creating a tech video or something, because in the book, even if you're creating a video series on a particular topic, it is still very easy, because you create a video series and it is not okay, if you miss something, it's not a problem and something. But if you're writing a book, you have it's like a proper process. You in the start, you conceptualize it, then you create outline, then you start writing it, then you might again change the outline, and then there are a lot of revisions. And in my case, I talk to my friends and other book writers a lot, and get their feedback in the whole process and understand it, because it can be a case I'm writing something and I like it, but I have to take the feedback as well, and so along the way. So yeah, it takes some time, but I would recommend if you guys are interested, you should write it, although it takes time. But it's a good thing to have your own book, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it. It's going to be there when you write the book. It's going to be there forever. That's the shortest way I can say this thing. Even if you don't make any money while writing it, even if you deny yourself so many things, that's just a knowledge you're putting out there for everyone. That's going to be there forever. 10 years from now, there are going to be people who will thank you for writing that book today. So that's something that you can just put at the back of your mind and know that you're doing something for a lifetime. You're doing something for life and not just momentarily. So I think that's important. And writing the book also, it takes time. And there are so many processes, like you mentioned. There's the review process. You have to, you can't just write the book and say, oh, I've written the book and just take it out there. You should spend a lot of time writing and rewriting. I did a lot of rewriting in my books also. I wrote and then I rewrote several times, so many concepts. I'll read it. I'm like, no, that has to be easier to write. That has to be easier to explain, rather, easier to understand. And then I'll have to start rewriting it, start looking for easier concepts to explain. Maybe the structure of the sentence was not done right. I have to spend a lot of time rewriting, deleting parts too. There are so many parts you find out that are unnecessary, and you have to remove them, because instead of those parts making things easier to understand, they'll make them more difficult to understand. So you remove, rewrite, restructure also is important. You have to understand that the outline is not set on stone. You have to restructure as you write. You're going to understand that, oh, maybe this has to be done differently. This has to be done. I think that's one of the flexibility I got also from publishing my book myself, because I was able to structure it when needed. I was able to restructure, I was able to rewrite, I was able to remove stuff and add stuff. So all those things are really important to understand. That's part of the process. And then before you start getting to sending it out for reviews, because it's important to have other people review your work, because something that you might feel was easy to understand for you might not be to other people. So for my books, I always said before publishing, I always send them out to people to review and then get feedback and then use that, iterate and all of that. So really important.
So on that point, how do you get that beta readers? I would say, correctly. So do you reach out to people on LinkedIn, or do you have like specific group of friends or professional relationship with certain guys, and you just send it to them and then get the feedback? So how you
Yeah,
follow
I think
process?
I think that's the best. That's the best way to get feedback. You should have friends. If you're a software engineer, for example, you should have colleagues or former colleagues or people you've made friends with. You have some kind of connection or network with in the tech space. So I think that's one of the easiest way and the best way to get reviews. So you message your friends, say, I'm writing a book on this. Can you help me check it out? I need you to help me look at it and review it. If there's anything that needs to be changed, updated, you have any opinion or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. And then you get those people. It's going to be more difficult for you if you're going to look for people that you've not even met before or that you've not even had any interaction with before, and you're just like, I wrote a book, come and help me review it. They're gonna be like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
yeah, where do I even, how do I even do this with you? Because I don't even know you. So, but you have friends, you have colleagues, you have former colleagues, you have other networks. You even on LinkedIn, you might have built networks. They don't have to be called your friends. They don't have to be people that you've met physically, but these are people that you should have spent some time building relationships with. That's gonna make it much easier to get them to review your book.
Yeah, that is nice. And then, like, once the book is finalized, everything is ready, then the next phase is publishing your book. So nowadays, everybody is self-publishing, going towards that route. Like the traditional publishing, it is like, I would say, that market is slowly going down, but still, yeah, a lot of people do that as well. So can you tell like how a person can decide either my book, I should self-publish it, or go with the traditional route?
Yeah, so this is something that you have to think of before you start writing. Think about, or before you start doing much work on it, because the way you might want to structure a book would be different. Many traditional publishers have a certain way they structure their book, they structure their contents, they do certain things. So it might be different from what you have in mind. So think about this early, so that you start pitching your book to this. But if you want to do traditional, because self-publishing has its advantages and also has its disadvantages. It's not easy. If you're going with the traditional publisher, they're going to do most of the work for you apart from writing. So that's also a route that a lot of people tend to go towards. Even though if you're talking of profits, depending on the markets and all of that, you might not make as much or you might make less. To all these things have several factors surrounding them. But think about whether you want to go the self-publishing route or the traditional publishing route. Maybe we can talk about the upsides and downsides later. But think about that before you start writing, because when you're going with the traditional publisher, you start interacting with them. They'll give you their structure. They'll give you their processes, and you have to work with their process in writing that book, defining the outline, structuring the book, style of writing. Most of those things are structured and have processes. So think about that before you start writing the book. And then for self-publishing, when you decide that you want to self-publish, also do research. But don't let these things, if you cannot come to conclusion on this, don't let that hinder you. Because at the end of the day, what's the most important thing is that you have the content, you have the written content, and then you can restructure it however you want later on. So don't let that hinder you if you cannot decide on it at the beginning. You can just start writing. It's better if you can decide on it, but if you cannot, just start writing, and when you're done, you think about it. I don't know if that answered the question, or maybe I should go back to the question you're asking. I wanted to clarify on deciding first.
Yeah, so I think next you can tell, like, in case a person want to self-publish, so what are like the 2-3 main steps that you have to do? Like in the start, like for instance, a lot of people think that you have to first uh, align your book in a particular format your book, and obviously you have to create like a cover photo, like, and then like what are the most famous platforms that you self-publish
Yeah.
it. So just tell us
Yeah.
about.
So here's something you have to think about: the structure of your book, the styling. So the way you style your book is different from just writing it. It has to be styled a particular way. So you have to go and look at other programming books, for example. There's a certain way that programming books might be styled that non-programming books or non-technical books are styled. To see the difference, read several books. You have to read a lot of books if you want to write a book. That's important. Read several books, notice the structure, notice the styling of the books, and you can decide to, add your own creativity, add your own style, or your own differences. That's also there. But there are certain standards that you have to follow in terms of maybe code blocks, for example, how to structure all of that. So when you get that right, then you start thinking about the platforms you want to put your book on, the format of the book too. Amazon is there. Amazon is an important platform for self-publisher. KDP, Kindle Publishing by Amazon. You can use that to self-publish your book, both in paperback and in Kindle version. And then there are other cool platforms like Leanpub, for example. I use Leanpub for my books. I recommend Leanpub for self-publishers. Put your books there. And then other platforms like Google Books, for example. I put my book on Google Books. But I think the two most important that I'll say you should go for is Amazon and their distributed publishing, and then Leanpub for self-publishers. And then you start putting it out in other platforms like Google Books and some other platforms I cannot remember right now. But Amazon might help you distribute it. There's also Ingram's Pack for those who you might not want to go with Amazon. There's another platform, Ingram's Pack, which you can use to publish your book, and they're going to help you distribute it, both physical copies and the soft copies. They're going to help you distribute it to different platforms. So those are the three I can remember right now and recommend to you.
Yeah, that is cool. I can put the link of all these three platforms in the description as well, if in case someone wants to check it out. And then the last question of this talk, it is that now your book is even published on Amazon, KDP, or other platforms as well. So now you're thinking about how to promote that, how to get more people land on your download page. And for that, I have seen like you have through that newdev.io community, you go there, you go to learning, and then from there you go to Amazon as well. It's like a nice funnel, right? You go there, you are getting like a lot of value from that, and then from there you go to that particular Amazon page to buy it. And then like the other day, I remember I saw your post that you talk about something, and then in the end you paste a link of your book. You say if you do like basic stuff like create a program in a simple programming language, but it will take 2 hours or 3 hours. Then other than that, you can do like create a Terraform, create like deploy your Kubernetes cluster, and then do that sort of thing. That is the right thing. And then you say, okay, if you want to learn Git properly or something, it was JavaScript, then go to this book. And when I saw that post, like, believe me, I was like, oh, that is like very well thought post. You have thought about it, like, because I also clicked on that and I knew like how you structured the post. So yeah, just tell us about the strategies and your thinking behind.
Did that work on you? Did you get the book?
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like the book, I went to that page.
Yeah.
Now I decided, okay, like I will, buy this book because when I have my schedule, I will buy this book and I will, read it as well. So yeah, but
Awesome.
What are the strategies, to?
Yeah. So I think, and that's very important. What you just mentioned. Many people write books and they just expect the books to be successful. It won't be successful on its own. You're not Beyonce or Rihanna or any other popular musician. Even them, if they do anything, you see them talking about it every day, posting on their social media platforms, running ads and all of that. So you cannot just write a book. And this is something I see with so many authors in general, and then technical authors. They write book and they're like, and they blame the fact that, oh, maybe they don't have followers on social media. But even the one follower they have, they're not even saying anything about the book to that person. They blame the fact that, oh, they don't have up to 1,000 followers, but even the 10 followers they have don't even know about the book that they've written. So when you write the book, when you do something, anything, you have to ensure that people get to know about it. It can be the best book in the world. It can be the best content in the world. But if no one knows about it, then you wasted your time. So you're just going to have that best book in the world lying around in the shelf. That's why you have to make it make it your responsibility to tell people about it. And that's what you see me do every day in my posts. I'm talking about my JavaScript. When you go to my page on LinkedIn, you see a link to my books on JavaScript on Git and GitHub. My Twitter posts, I'm talking about my JavaScript books. And you do it in a creative way also. These are things you have to sit down and think about, that you're not just going to bombard people with buy my book, buy my book. You have to buy my book, buy my book. You have to give them value. And then they see that, oh, wow, I got a lot of value from this person. Maybe I can even get more value from this person's book. So you have to give value. This is important. So you sit down and spend a lot of time. You spend a lot of time writing code. You spend a lot of time writing tests. You spend a lot of time doing technical stuff. When it comes to getting people to know about what you do, your work, what you've done, your work or your book, you have to also spend a lot of time thinking about that process. To spend a lot of time crafting content. It's okay if you use 5 hours to even create a post, as long as that post is something that resonates with people. And then they're like, oh, wow, I got a lot of value from this person's post. I need to go check out some other thing that this person has done. So that's really important. That's my advice to people. I have I think about 35 or 36,000 followers on LinkedIn. But there are so many people that have 100,000 plus followers. There are some people that my follower count is just a fraction of theirs. And I have my books, and I write a book and they'll write a book, and mine would sell more than theirs. And the difference is just that, apart from the book being good enough, you have to get that first part right, which is you have to put out content that is valuable and good. But then you have to also spend a lot of time talking about it in a way that people would want to check it out. So that's what I do. If I had not talked about my JavaScript book, I don't think anyone would know about it on my Git and GitHub book.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I would recommend, if someone, if you are interested how to do that, just go check out the profile, the LinkedIn profile, and you will see that a lot of the posts that you actually make, they're very creative, because I actually learned a lot from them. The way just you're right, you do not provide the link to your book. Okay, this is the sort of a good picture. Okay, this is my book. Just go to that, buy it, and you will get a lot of value. And again, next day you again posting some other poster, and then again saying that no, you provide some value. So it is the sales strategy as well, that if you reach out to someone, even in inbox as well, you provide some value, provide some free resource, then ask them for that final thing that you want them to do. So that is a great strategy that you're doing. So
you have to also understand that you're giving them more value. They are thanking me because they're getting a solution to all their JavaScript problems. People have been struggling to learn JavaScript for a very long time. They get my book and it clicks. They are thanking me. So I'm happy to be doing this for people, because I know that I'm helping people. And that you have to see it from that standpoint. When you write a book, you're writing a book to help people. So don't see it as you forcing people to get something, to give you something. They're not the one giving you something. You're the one giving them knowledge and value. So that's when you see, when you see it from that standpoint, you're doing good. Every time you talk about your book, you're doing the world good. So if you're an author, you have to see it from that standpoint, and don't be ashamed to talk about your book. People need to hear about that book, and don't be discouraged. Also, you might talk about it day 1, day 2, day 3, day 10, and no one buys it. That's fine. Keep talking about it, but do it creatively and don't spam people. And those people that might have seen it day 1, it'll probably be day 20 when they see it again, and they're like, oh, I need to check this out. And that's when they check out the book and get it. This is, I think, the same with any products. From any big brand. You see, that's why constantly you keep seeing all those big brands in your faces, on your TV, on social media, and all of that. And one day you're walking in a supermarket and you see their product and you're like, oh, I need to buy this. So that's just the way it works.
That is the psychology they play with you. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it was, it is the end of this amazing, insightful podcast episode, and regarding how to publish your first book, or even if you have published your first book and then you want to publish your second or third book, what is the process and how you can improve it. And it was an amazing episode, I would say. It is very insightful, and thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights.
Thank you very much for having me, Huzaifa. I'm glad I was able to discuss this with you, and hopefully our learners got something from this. learners, viewers got something from this. Viewers, if you got something, please hit the like button and the subscribe button, because Huzaifa puts a lot of valuable content on this channel.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And if you want to contact him, I will put the link of his LinkedIn profile, the book as well, the both book, JavaScript and Git book, in the description. You can check this out as well. And until next episode, take care of yourself. Do check out these two amazing books, and nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.